Well, welcome back to Hillbilly Shipwright. This is where we've been building our 3-boat series from Model Expo and Model Shipways, where they have the 3 kits. And we are on our 3rd kit in the series, and that is the Muscongus Bay Lobster Smack. That's what we're currently working on. So this is going to be part 4. And in the last video, we got right up to where we were going to get ready to put our decks on. And we had some things to take care of, which I have taken care, I think I've taken care of all of it. And now we're ready to put the deck on. Primarily these slots that we find in our frames there that are going to be, we're going to be inserting some the cabin piece and some other items there. So had to make sure that there was plenty of room for that and that the deck fit well to the top of the frames there. And we got all that taken care of to include painting the cockpit area there and doing our seats and all that. Because it's going to be really hard to do that once you get the deck on, and even harder once you get all the planking done. So yeah, that's where we're at. And now we're going to put some decks on. So let's jump over the bench and get these decks put on. So I do have my checklist here of things that I need to make sure is done. Stain the seats, check. Seal the seats, we did that. Paint the cockpit area, we did that. We worked out the rudder shaft. We decided to use the 3/64 inch brass rod instead of the brass rod that come in the kit, so that it would fit in that hole right there for the rudder. And let's see, what else we got? Our centerboard link, we modified that, and we cut the frames for the deck. So I think we're ready. Well, everything that's on the list is done. So in addition, and I will zero in for this. There we go. I have drawn a pencil line in the center of the spine. Everywhere the deck touches the spine there, as my reference point when we go to put our deck on. And we do have our 1/4 inch dowel, which doesn't come in the kit, so you're going to have to source some 1/4 inch dowel. Supposed to help us with the alignment of the deck. I think if we go by our line there, we'll be just as good. So without breaking anything, I want to do a final check before I start to commit to cement, or glue. I'm sorry, I'm still thinking plastic models here. Because once we start gluing this up, we are going to be unable to make any more adjustments to the tops of the frames and stuff. Now, for some reason, my number 4 frame is not quite square. You can actually see a little gap there. I don't think it's going to bother us too much as long as we can get lined up. And it appears I'm not square right there at the end of the deck. So I think what I need to do is probably relieve a little bit here so I can slide up just a little bit. I don't understand why it's doing that, to be honest with you. If that is square and our slot is lined up for our link, we should be good up here. But we're just slightly off. Story of my life. Decisions. Well, it might be that there's a slight twist in our frame. I don't think so, but I mean, it looks right. It does have a slight twist to it, ever so slight. And I don't think I'm going to be able to correct it. We'll try. Otherwise, we'll just have to do something with the deck there up forward. So, put my little clips back on here for my stand so that our boat's not falling over. Okay, let's see. All right, the deck, it curves in two planes, make installation easier. It is in two halves. I recommend placing a 1/4-inch dowel or drill bit in the mast socket to help locate the deck accurately. They want us to dampen the top of the surface of the deck section that we're going to be putting in to make it more pliable. It will curl a little bit, which is normal. I don't know that I want to do that, to be honest with you. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it up on the center here and frames 4, 5, and 6. So if I'm on my center line and I glue this section up first, we can still get in and glue the rest of it up and manipulate the deck. I believe, without having to try to do every single frame and everything at the same time. And it's not that big of an arc, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. That's just my opinion there. I think we'll be fine. And then we can manipulate the rest of the deck and get it squared up down on top of all the frames and meet our center line. So I believe that's what we're going to do. So I've kept materials from our other builds, mainly these small blocks. So anytime you've got little leftovers and stuff that you've used, keep them. And these little pieces here of scrap wood, I think are going to come in handy to press down sections of our deck. We're going to use rubber bands and I don't need all this. I'm gonna clean all this up. So before we get stuck into gluing things up, need to make sure that you've got whatever you think you're going to need. We're going to need some rubber bands. I've got those right here. Some spacer blocks to press down on the areas that we want on the deck. Oh, we're going to need some glue. And I'm still using the Model Expo yellow wood glue. I don't know that I'm going to have enough to complete this kit, but I have been using quite a bit. There we go. I tend to waste more than I use. That's okay. Glue's cheap. So, I think it's go time. So all along this deck here where my link is, I need to get it up underneath the link, but I don't want the link flopping around. And make sure that you got your link positioned up above the deck, because once you put this side of the deck on, it's going to be trapped underneath, and you don't want to do that. So I'm going to go along the tops of these. Yeah, and right here. So here, there, right there, and there. Oh, one more thing I need. I think I need some water and a brush. And so that's for cleanup. I don't know if this is going to help me or not. When we get to the bow section, we'll worry about that then. So I need to make sure that it's glued up well in that center seam. Just a little bit too much glue there. We're going to have some squeeze out, and that's good. That's what the water and stuff is for. And we do want to make sure that we don't glue our link into place. That would not bode well for a very good working centerboard. Now, when you put the glue on, since you guys have probably already built one or two of these boats, you already know you're going to have some squeeze out and all that. That's what the water and the brush is for. Where's my lid? There we go. I think I will take this off for now, for the moment. And I guess it's go time. I need to start right on my line. Press it down. And it should just grab hold. So this is going to get tricky. I hope that you're going to be able to see everything. Now you can put water on the top surface here to help with the curvature, but I don't really think we're going to need that at this point. Now they say weight this down. I'm thinking I'm going to put a couple of rubber bands on it. So I got to hold the deck in place. Get my rubber bands over here where they're going to do some good. I think I'm still on my line, yeah. Get this rubber band around. Where I want it to go. Caught on my centerboard. I need another band here. Getting in around all these frames is a little bit of a trick. Oops. Let's not drop it. So I need some downward pressure here. That's what these little pieces of wood are for. So I can apply the pressure onto the outboard section there. Probably work better if I put a bigger piece under it. This yellow glue grabs pretty quick. I just need to make sure that I'm out there where I'm supposed to be. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention, you need a paper towel. I just need to make sure that I got this cleaned up right here in the center. So that any squeeze out that I got right here, I don't want that to harden. Because that's going to be a problem if it does. We'll have to sand or file it away or something. Like I say, this yellow glue sets up pretty quick. As you can see, it's already setting up. It's already skinned up. That's why I think you really need a good reference line down the middle, because without it, getting lined up is hard to do with two pieces. And if this one's off, the other one's going to be off, and all that. Now don't worry about this edge right here, because that's going to be sanded away later on. I don't know why I'm fooling with it as much as I am. So, appear to be in pretty decent shape there. Don't worry about that squeeze out. That squeeze out is fine, as long as it's all the way down, and it is. Okay. So we appear to be in pretty good shape there. Really hard to put pressure on right there. I may have to hold it. I don't know how long I have to hold it, but so one of the things we want to do is run us some glue here in the corners. Make sure that we are fastened down, because we're going to do a lot of sanding and everything on this, and we don't want it breaking loose, because it gets really hard to get back in here and fix stuff. I'm not saying that it won't break loose, but you know, we're going to give it its bestest chance of success there. So I am going to run some glue up here. There's no support for the forward edge there up next to the cabin on frame 4. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we'll let this set up. Then we'll start manipulating the rest of the deck. Okay, so this is fully dried. I kind of left it overnight. Got tied up into doing some things. As you can see, I've got some bracing and stuff going on here. Trying to make sure that the deck stays down where it's supposed to. So now I need to deal with this spine that is not quite where it's supposed to be. So here's the problem. If I pull this over, the length of it gets shorter because of the curve there. Geometry working against me at this point. But now if I pull the keel or the keel and the spine over and just let the deck lay, I think I can eliminate that. Now this problem comes back from my very first video where we had the problems with it curling up on me and I had to try to straighten it and all that. So that's just the way it goes, I guess. A little disappointed in that. I will be perfectly honest with you. What I've decided to do is I'm going to come up here to frame 3. And we're gonna glue frame 3 into place, or the deck into place on frame 3. That's what we're gonna do. This will fix it at a starting point. I don't need any glue coming up through here and creating a problem for us. So I'm going to get that off right there. It's very thin, so I actually need it to, it'll grab pretty quick. And I am going to go ahead, make sure that it is got plenty of glue fore and aft of this point right here on frame 3. Just like that. I'm going to hold it a couple of minutes just to make sure that it is adhered. I could put a rubber band on it, but I don't think I need to at this point. Just need to make sure that it doesn't slide and move on frame 3. And this deck is pretty flexible, so we'll be able to get up underneath it there and glue up frame 2 and 1, and then kind of tweak it a little bit here to get that deck to set on our line. So I'm kind of thinking that probably I shouldn't have put these stiffeners up here between frames 2 and 3, but it'll be all right. Trust me, it's going to be fine. This is why every build is different, I guess. Yeah, I do regret the issues that I had with the spine, but that all began because I used PVA glue, which I should not have. It's too wet. And the pieces are so thin, they started to curl away and lift. And so, ta-da, there you are. So once this dries, we're going to go ahead and start gluing the rest of it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to brace it. Pull my rubber band over here. Make sure that it stays in contact. It's stuck, but I don't want it to pop off there. We're going to go ahead and do that. And then, while that's drying right there, I can go ahead and fix the rest of it. I think. I'm fairly certain I can. Let me get me some more glue. And, oh, coincidentally, when your glue bottle gets low, just lay it on its side. That way you don't have to wait so long to get your glue out. So let me get me some glue and then prepare my rubber bands and everything and get ready. Well, we're going to go ahead and glue the aft section here of the deck, because we don't have any issues with that. So what I've decided to do, I'm going to space, using this little block of wood here, our deck up a little bit there, so that I can get up underneath it and get my glue in place. Top of the frames there. I'm starting to work towards me. Now when we go to stick this deck down, one of the things that we need to pay attention to is the aft section there, where we've got our line. We need to line that up. The glue will allow us to slide around just a little bit. And because of that, we want to make sure that we're lined up in the aft section before the glue grabs hold on the other frames, because we don't want it to pull away from our center line, or well, you know, as center as I think it is. Maybe it might not be all that center. Get it here on a so okay, I am ready to go. Protect our glue. Here we go. So I need to get lined up here. Press down. All right, I need a clamp there. Don't know how many clamps, but there we go. That's good. So that's clamped into place. Now we need to get it all the way down here. Okay. I'm going to slide this rubber band here down. To the next frame. I'm going to block it up. Need more hands. I don't have enough tension there. So the blocks will provide us with downward pressure. That's what we're looking for. So that we're not backing away from the joint, which it kind of is, but try to stay off. When you clamp these down, clamp them down right on top of the frame. That's looking good, looking good. All right, so I need more pressure. I'm gonna double up my rubber band here. Get this across the deck. Trying to get down on the frame there. Probably going to roll off, but no, that's good. Okay. I need to get the center down. Make sure that we stay in contact there. I'm not quite ready to clean anything up, but now I did not wet this deck like they tell us to do. Big surprise. Because it's not that much of a bow. Now maybe it would assist a little bit. I want to make sure this seam right here on the top is is clear of any glue, because we really need the other deck, the other half of our deck, to have as seamless of a joint as possible there. Yeah, it snapped off on me there. So I can get that tension back. Roll this to the edge. Better. A little bit more height there to give us some more downward pressure. If I can get it in there. Yeah. So it appears we got decent contact everywhere. Okay. All right, so we've got it glued up here. I can see plenty of squeeze out on the inside there. Back here on our transom. So I'm going to go in and reinforce these joints with some glue, just like we did up forward here, or in our midships. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I've given the number 3 frame here time to dry there with the deck on it. And so I'm going to move on forward. We just finished up the aft section here, and I let it set for about 40 minutes. I don't need anything to move. I don't think it will, though, because the center section, our midship section, is already dry. So I did space it with a block of wood right there, just to get the deck up off the frame, because I don't want it adhering while I'm trying to get some glue on the rest of it there. Because once you set this deck down on it, it starts to soak the moisture right out of the glue. And as that happens, it starts to cure and grab. And I still need it to slide a little bit right there. While I position the spine, trying to get our line to line up with the deck. That is my primary goal, is to get it to set correctly. So we're almost there, almost ready to stick this into place. Hopefully I don't get glue all over the my line and can't see it. That would be bad. So, moment of truth. I need to get the glue off my hand, though. I'll glue myself to the boat. So I'm going to torque this over to the line. Knock our block out. And it's not a lot. It's just enough to keep us from getting lined up correctly. Need to be center. I'm going to hold it there for a second. Because it does want to slide on us. Got glue on my finger there. My thumb. I don't expect it to be absolutely perfect because we didn't kind of start out that way. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's kind of where we're at. So now hopefully yours will be straight and flat, and you won't have this issue. But we're gonna have to go with it. It's just kind of the way it is. So we got good contact there on number 2 frame. So I need to start cleaning up our glue here on our seam for where the other half of the deck is going to need that to close up, so we don't need any glue protruding out from that. I'm not going to put any water on it at this point because I'm afraid if I do, I'll loosen the joint. And we don't want that. So the tip of it, I've got it pretty much center. Pretty much. Much better than it was. It actually looks pretty decent. Time will tell when we go to put our other half of the deck on. I don't expect a great fit up forward here, so we're probably going to have to do some sanding and some trimming, and I do see filler in our future there. So I'm going to put some rubber bands on this and just let it dry, and I can go back and fill those little areas there, make sure that we've got enough glue in there. I just don't want it to move. So let me get my rubber band clamping apparatus going here. So I did take the rubber bands and stuff off the midships and aft section there, and now it's time to take off all of our rubber bands and clamping here. Up forward, as you can see, I did make sure that I had it clamped as well as I could get it. You do have some things to contend with, being the shape of the boat. That's why rubber bands are so important when it comes to getting this accomplished. And then using, whoops, yeah, there we go. Now using the little wooden blocks helps us put that pressure straight down versus the rubber band pulling the deck inboard, which is not what you want it to do. You want to clamp it straight down as much as you can. Of course, the shape of the boat doesn't help you facilitate that, but little blocks of wood there kind of helps us keep that pressure going in a closing of the gap versus pulling the deck inboard, and you don't want that. So I do have some cleanup to do here. That's okay. I guess the next thing, I want to take a look and see how well the other half of the deck fits. It's kind of one of those moment of truth kind of things here. I do see I need to do some cleanup right there. So the aft section seems to line up really nice. Got a little bit of gap there, but that's okay. When we get up forward, as you can see, we are off. We are off a bit. So if I line this up here at the bow, we're off back here. So I mean, it's not much. I am tempted to trim that deck. Stand my link up, get it out of the way there. I'm just checking for anything stuck in the corners there, where maybe I didn't clean it up too good with my toothpick. And I think what I'm going to do, they don't give you much help in the instructions on fitting your deck. But midships is fine. The aft section is fine. We're going to have a small gap there. It's no big deal. I mean, we're going to have to fill that anyway. Where I'm running into a problem, though, is if I glue it just like this, we are so off. But if I overlap it just a hair, just a little bit, everything starts to meet up a lot better. More better. So that's what I'm going to do. Where's my rule at? It is ever so slight. This could be a big mistake. Where's my knife? Wouldn't be my wouldn't be my first mistake. Okay, so I'm going to start right here. Just forward of the mast right there. I'm going to use that as a reference point, and then that little tick mark that I put in there. Yes, we are messing with the geometry of the deck, but I'm trying to figure my way out of the mess that I made out of the spine. Not my best cut, that's for sure. Obviously, I'm going to have to use some filler. Just trying to give us the best opportunity here to get everything lined up correctly. So we look good. Aft section looks good. Well, it's just not going to get any better. But we have the same amount sticking out here on frame 1, left and right. I'm sorry, port and starboard. I think if I leave a small gap here, just forward of the length for our centerboard, just a small one, that allows us to get much closer. What's that going to do when we go aft? No noticeable difference there. So yeah, I'm thinking at the same time, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to leave a little gap here. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to glue it down using the same method that we used before, using the rubber bands and the blocks and all that. I'm going to leave myself a really small gap right up here next to the cabin. Just like so. And hopefully that gives me just enough to square up the bow. We'll get it really close, that all we got to do is trim and sand it in, and it'll be fine. I say that too much, don't I? All right, I'm gonna get this glued up. So it's been probably a couple of hours, and I'm in good shape here. Well, the boat's in good shape here. As for me, I'm not too sure. You can kind of see some of my the ways I've started to figure out how I need my rubber bands kind of spaced out so I can get a downward pressure there. So using a strip underneath it there will help you get more of a downward pressure, because every time you get close to the edge, it kind of pushes your blocks off back towards the center. And yeah, I did a little wrapping here too. Take up the slack in the rubber band so we can get that out of the way. I'm not going to need anything aft here. So we're actually in really good shape. There's a little bit of a crack right there. It's okay, we'll fill it. And left to right, I should say, port to starboard, it actually looks really good. Couldn't be happier with that. So, whoops, about lost a block there. Caught it with my elbow. Get all this off out of my way. And we're going to glue the forward part of the deck up. And that's going to be the section that is going to give us the most trouble, I have no doubt. I'm going to move my clamp back here. I'm going to need some glue. Well, let me go ahead and get some glue and stuff and get myself situated here. So I kind of moved my clamps back here behind frame 4 so that the boat will be able to stand like that, and I can actually get rubber bands around it. Wish I'd have thought about that earlier. Yeah, that's going to work good. Learning as I go. Now, I want to do the same thing up forward here on the front like I did before. I need to get the deck lifted so that I can get all my our glue. I must call it adhesive. Well, I guess it is an adhesive. Yeah. So I'm going to start gluing up forward here and work my way back to frame 4 because I still don't have it cemented right there. Because I still want a little bit of shift here to close that gap. That's my thinking, as flawed as it is. But we'll get this closed up. Get us some glue on here. Frames 1 and 2. Well, frame 1, there we go. We're all glued up there. Frame 2, down up under here. A little bit more. Frame 3. And then frame 4. Just need to get it probably more than enough. I tend to use too much glue. Now we can release our block there. Glue up our deck. Get it down here where I put some pressure on. I need to wipe that excess glue away. So I'm going to need some help here. Looking good so far. Knocking the boat over. I know, it's not a laughing. You know, some people get really, really serious when they're modeling. And I tend to do that too. When I'm thinking a lot, which I try not to do too much, gets me in trouble every time. I don't want any glue coming up through the hole here that's there. I think it's for our mast stay. And because I'm going to put a piece of wood on top of the deck there. Kind of help us with getting the deck. I don't know if that rubber band's not going to work. Don't have enough stretch. Knock my block out already. Okay, come on. Help me out here. There we go. So we should have good contact everywhere. I'll probably need something on top of that too. Guess I should have left that last rubber band in there.
Be easier if I'd been born an octopus, I guess. That's fine. Just want to make sure that the deck is not springing back up, because if it is, that's kind of an issue. Yeah. Alright, so we look like we're in pretty good shape there. Yes, I know that it doesn't match up here. We'll just have to deal with that later. Now how the holes, my holes are not, to include where the, what's it called, a king post or whatever it is, goes in underneath these blocks. And then our mast, the hole for it, obviously not lined up. We have to do something about that. It's not off as much as it could have been, so we'll call that a win. Yeah. I want to make sure that all that glue gets distributed there. And you can watch, if you can see it, you can see how it's already skinned over. I mean, this glue dries quick, which gives us the properties of being able to actually stick the part and keep it from sliding around. And it adheres and holds everything really quick. Unlike that PVA glue. Boy, that was a total disaster in part 1, which has led us to some of the problems we've been seeing. With the with our alignment of the deck here, or at least that's what I'm going to blame it on. So, in my own defense, the book did say use PVA glue, and I gave it a shot, and boy, was that a bad idea. PVA glue's properties is that it's very it's very wet. It's got a whole lot of water in it. And with this really, really, really thin wood, the wood starts to soak it all up and bend out of shape. And, you know, wood being a natural material, that's what it does. And there's not a lot you can do about it once you're at that stage, other than try to get the glue back off of it and then get everything flattened back out. So I'm going to let all this dry, and then we'll start looking at the next step. So let's see, the next thing we need to do, they talk about sanding this edge of the deck back and then rounding the edge over. But that's not how ours came out. You can see, let's see, 4, 5, frame 6, the deck doesn't meet the edge of it there. So I may have to do something about that. And then, of course, we need to sand in our transom edge to the deck. And if you look at it, you can see where they, theirs meets differently than the way mine meets. I would say ours, but your boat may be coming out better. But I don't see that as a problem. Either one of them, really. First thing we'll do, we're going to take care of the transom here. Go ahead and get that out of the way so I'm not chipping anything off there. And I'm just going to take and hold my block vertical here, you know, in the plane of 90 degrees from my mat. We're just going to sand it down to the deck. You can see how fast this is going. So here on Hillbilly Shipwright, we don't spend a lot of time when it comes time to make a mistake. We usually do that pretty quickly. Mistakes happen. And don't worry about it. I mean, it's wood. If it breaks, just fix it. If it doesn't fit, just sand it some more. It's really all it takes. You just don't quit or give up on it. You just kind of stick with it there. I need just a little bit more, I think. Now we need a nice clean arc on it there, as you see. That's why we're not doing the little like that, you know. We don't want to do that. You want to keep your arc going with the boat. We almost removed all the char, so that's a good thing. I'm not going to worry about the fuzzies yet. We'll get to those later, but that actually looks really nice, don't it? Yeah. Okay. That's good. So after thinking about this a little bit, this is what's left of one of the strips that we used to take care of our frames there. And we had to do a filler. I am going to cut me a strip. I want to fill this gap. Oh, it might be useful if I knew how long. I'll trim it to fit later. I'm just going to cut me a piece that long. Yeah. I'll trim it down to length in a minute. First thing I need to do though is get it wherever my ruler is. I'm going to shave me off a piece here that's taller than the deck. I'm going to try to. Be nice if I was doing it where you could see it. Shouldn't be too. I started to say shouldn't be too hard to do, should it? I'm having trouble lining it up. There we go. The easier way to do it is to put, well actually I should show you the right way instead of fooling around here. put you a backer in so that your ruler's not on an angle. Not really a backer, a shim, you know, so that the ruler's not tilted. And then I just moved it. But there we go. Doesn't have to be perfect. Although it would be great if it was. But I really don't want it that thick. Because we're going to bow it. And since I'm going to bow it, if it's... hard to hold on to something that small, isn't it? Anyway. I'm fairly certain that little edge right there is the factory edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in right here. As a gap filler. And then we'll just sand it down to the deck. Sounds easy enough, doesn't it? Hope I was in camera there when I was telling you about it. Okay. Now it's not that I couldn't sand enough radius to get rid of the step there. It's just that I think it would look really odd. So we're going to put this filler strip in, and when we get done sanding it, it's probably going to nearly disappear. And that's okay if it actually does disappear, but in the event it doesn't, at least we're not going to have a little ledge there that may look even worse than little filler piece we're getting ready to put in. So if I can keep it 90 degrees and get it to tack up, we'll be in good shape here. glue always takes up space, so you gotta get it to squeeze out. Yeah, the tool I was using there is the cap to my craft knife that came with the kit. Let's see. So we seem to be pretty much stuck into place, which is good. I'll come along and remove any squeeze out. I'm going to let that dry so that I can come back in and sand it. I don't really need to sand it right now, but I'm still waiting for the deck to dry there. It's probably almost ready to come apart, so, or I should say, take the clamping off. It may come apart, I don't know. All right, so I'm kind of happy with that. We're going to sand a radius on it, but it would be really, really way out of scale if the radius is more than, say, the radius on our seats. So I just kind of want to avoid that. So I've given this plenty of time to dry. And now I'm just going to sand it down flush with the deck there. Should go pretty quick. Don't really want to get into the deck. Yeah, we're getting real close real fast. Well, maybe not as fast as I thought. This is finer sandpaper than I normally use. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and sand that all the way down. So I got to sand it down almost flush. I thought I had it. There we go. Now I'm going to put a slight radius on it here. Cut the edge off. I'm going to start with about a 45-degree angle there. Which will probably make it wonderful to paint. Painting a 45-degree angle or a radius without getting the paint to show lines where it overlaps is a little tricky. I think it looks much better. And then just leaving that. I don't think that would have worked out. I think I had too much of the frame sticking out from underneath the deck there. I don't know if you're going to have a problem with that or not. But this is kind of how I decided to deal with it. Now we don't have to over sand at this point because we are going to be coming in with some filler for the seams in the deck and everything. So if I go ahead and do a lot of sanding on it, I mean, we're just going to do more sanding later. So I am curious. We do need to check, make sure that everything still works. I believe that it does. This is all dry. I'm going to go ahead and take all this off. So our 1/4 inch dowel here, and actually it's really tight, but it does fit. Even though I did not use it like the instructions said to check the alignment, I already knew I was going to have a little bit of mismatch there anyway. Oh, and I want to see if the centerboard works. All right, so we're in good shape there. Centerboard works just fine. I didn't glue my link into place there. So we added this strip here. We got both decks, left and or starboard and port side glued on, and we fired in the or sanded in the transom there. Looks good. So next up is going to be fairing the hull. Yeah, that's the next thing. Fairing the hull. As you can see here, we lose most of the little ends up here on the bow, and we've got all this to sand in and everything. We have to add a strip here, and we also do our stem, keel, and stern posts. These are pieces that laminate on either side. So, yeah. We're moving along. Okay, so I really want to fill these cracks in the deck and get those sanded down before I go any further. I know I'm going to have to do some filling again later on, but I want to get that out of the way at this point. And this is Okra's water-based crack filler. I bought it off of Amazon. You can get it there. You can, I imagine you can get it straight from Okra's website. Not suitable for children under 14. Use under adult supervision. I may need some supervision. Do not swallow. So on and so forth. So it is water-based. And it is white. And since we're going to be painting our smack anyway, it's not that big a deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a painter's spatula. Oil painters use them. And this stuff is formulated especially for boat builders. Use this as a trowel here. Kind of fill it. I'm not going to worry about this crack that I got right here behind number 4 frame, because we do have a piece that we're going to put on top of that, so that shouldn't actually be an issue for us. Now I bought this specifically, with this putty anyway, specifically for building this boat. I'm sure it's going to come in handy for building others. Now if you are going to stain your deck or, you know, give it a clear coat or something like that, you're gonna not want to use this. I plan on painting mine white. So I'm not going to really worry about the color of it. It is water-based. If you wanted to tint it, I guess you could. Yeah, so we're looking good there. It goes from creamy to pasty as it starts to dry, so you don't want to rework it too much. Get it on there, scrape it smooth. May have to, I don't know how much the shrinkage is on this stuff. Really my first time using it. I just opened the jar. And I don't know how hard it's going to be to sand. Shouldn't be too hard to sand. It should sand pretty good. Just in case, though, I'm going to kind of scrape it down a little bit. No sense in keeping more stuff to take care of later. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I can sand it down flush. So I'm not sure how this is going to sand, being the first time that I've ever actually used this filler. So when it dries, it's kind of harder than I would have expected it to be, which is a good thing. So I do have a little divot there. I think we'll be all right. I hope we'll be all right. Now, it'll be fine. I keep saying that, but I'm sure it's going to be fine. This filler reminds me more of a body filler for automotive than it does wood filler, except that it's water-based. I actually like it. I can't say that about a lot of wood fillers. A lot of wood fillers are just really, they're terrible. They're usually really granular. But this sand's really smooth. So yeah, I think I'm going to like using this water-based crack filler from Okra. So with this sanded, I kind of got like a flat spot right there at the seam, and it should have that little arc all the way across, all the way up to the top of the transom there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that and then get that contour to where it's nice and well, nice and contoured. This is kind of the body filler part going on here. So it's basically right here in the middle. I'm going to get me a bunch up here. I'm going to start raking it off. I'm going to sculpt it down to where it's ready to sand. Help if I put that over there, huh? Leave it high in the middle there. It's not a great big difference, but once we get that glossy looking white paint on it, it's going to become pretty obvious. All right, that'll be good to start. I'll have to let that dry before I can shape it anymore. But we'll be shaping it with our sandpaper and sanding stick so that it's got a nice little fall off to port and starboard there, rather than it being either flat or kind of depressed a bit. We don't want that. So while the stern of the vehicle is well, it is a vehicle of our boat is drying, so I can start sanding and blending that all in. We need to work on some of this up here. Right here, you can tell where it's not square forward. I don't know what we're going to have to do after. We may have to do some filling back there, but I do want to square it up on the forward side. That way, you know, if you have to filling on the back side is not that big of a deal, because the eye is more drawn to this larger open area in the front. So I'm choosing, and I don't know, I just get this feeling that we're going to have much more trouble with the back, because you can still see some of the frame down in there of the spine there. I don't know if you can, but I can see it. So at any rate, we need to clean this up for our post. That looks good. And my smallest flat file barely fits. It won't fit that way. That makes stuff like this kind of challenging. Now another thing we need to fix is this right here. I don't know if you can see it. The white. It is not exactly square right there. You know, we're kind of got that little offset from our port and starboard deck sections there. So we need to fix that. And oddly enough, we didn't have to do that back here. Just above the rear seat area. That matched up perfectly. So I'm pretty sure what has thrown me off up forward here is that little twist that I had in the spine, which goes all the way back to the trouble we had when we first put glue on this thing and tried to started to build up the spine itself there. So hopefully you don't have that trouble. And we can, you will be able to hopefully learn from my mistakes, because I think I made enough so far to write a book about. So I need to have a smooth transition here between these two deck halves, because when we go to bend our cabin section that goes around the front there, we don't want any gaps between the deck and the cabin itself, because if we do, we'll have to fill it. And filling and trying to sand, I mean, we probably still will have to do that, but I want a good contact area all the way around, so we'll have something to actually glue glue the cabin to. So I think that looks pretty good. Okay. So let's move on to the next little issue here. So the next thing I'm looking for is, we have these slots here and here. And that's because our cabin area actually comes around onto the deck here, and it connects up to the piece that comes around just to the inside here of our cockpit area. And they have these slots, locating slots for those. And we tried cleaning those up some, which we did quite a bit. So what I'm looking at now is if there is a problem where it's going to interfere with the tab. Either side there. So this side's fine. And this side isn't. I don't know if you can see it down in there, but it is ever so slightly too narrow. So while trying not to poke ourselves with our hand on the other side of it, I'm going to trim this away. And I don't know if we're going to be okay here or not. I do need to trim where we put our filler strip in. Right there on the edge, which is something that apparently the instructions did not anticipate us having to do. So, once again, I'm going to use this. This is the bow strip, or the cabin strip, which we have to bend later on. We haven't got around to it yet, but it's going to bend around. And as you can see, we have this tab that's going to fit into that slot there. So what we're looking for is just make sure that we're going to be able to get that in there. Seems to be fine either side. And also right here, since this piece comes out of the same sheet as our the other piece of wood that we're going to have to bend for back here, we just want to make sure that we're going to be able to insert it. Yeah, we're in good shape there, I think. So once my putty here, my filler dries, I can go ahead and sand that down. It's not quite dry yet because I just put my thumbprint in it. So the stern decking or fantail is it's coming along nicely. As you can see, I got quite a bit of filler there to take care of that sunken spot I got. But I think it's going to look really good. Remember now, all this is going to be painted. And yeah, so that's coming along nicely. Now the other thing, and I didn't mention this before, when we were cleaning up all the other little spots for a smooth transition, we are going to have that piece that comes around on the inside here. If I get up into the frame where you can see me. Sorry. Watch out here on these other frames in the cockpit area. Make sure that they aren't going to interfere. This one seems to be just a little bit proud, so I want to take care of that. It is so slight. What's going to happen though is when we go to put that piece of wood in, and we may have to fine-tune this some more later on, but I don't want it holding it off and keeping it from seating properly. I think that one's okay. So I think this is frame 7. Frame 8 seems to be fine. I don't think that you can spend too much time prepping, because that really saves a lot of work. Later on in the build. So yeah, we're in good shape, I think. So I do have a little bit more finish sanding to do back here. I'll put another coat on to kind of fan it out so that it's more of a smooth transition. So I'll need to flush sand all those edges. But it's looking pretty good. Okay, so I think we've got a good foundation going there with our deck. It's looking real good. And we have done a lot of little things, you know, to get ready for the next few phases of the build. And I did use that ochre filler there.
And it is specifically formulated for shipbuilders and for filling cracks and stuff in our build. And that's going to be important when we go to do our planking, because there is inevitably going to be some areas that we're going to need to fill, because this boat is supposed to have a nice smooth hull. And yeah, we're going to have a lot of sanding, a lot of filling, and I can see that in my future. In order to get that nice smooth look that we're going for here on our lobster smack. Now, we've done a lot of things that the instructions don't mention. They don't tell us to take care of certain things. I spent a lot of time, you know, making sure that these slots are going to fit our cabin area that we're going to be putting in, and all that. And what we need to understand is that the instructions is a guide for us. Now, I'm not making excuses for them. They could mention this stuff. But at this point in this level 3 build, I guess maybe they're trying to train us into thinking outside of the box more, to alleviate certain problems that may crop up in any build. So maybe they intentionally didn't mention that. But if they do mention every single little thing, just imagine that you would go from a 20-page or so instruction manual into 60 or 70 pages. And most people are not going to read all that anyway. So most guys, yeah, a lot of times we just don't read instructions, and that gets me into trouble a lot. But yeah, we're moving along pretty good. Shout out to Dean, who's been building along. And Dean did a really good job on his pram. He did different color choices, which is nice. He used a really nice green. I really like that in his build. And hey, if you've got a build that you're doing and you want to send me some pictures and stuff, you can catch it in the link in the About section on my home page there on YouTube. And I'd love to see what you've got going on. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this video. So next video is the fairing in of the frames, and that's prepping everything for our planking. So we need to do that, and then hopefully we'll get to some planking. So special thanks to all my subscribers, because of you guys that I enjoy making these videos for you to see. And if you are new to the channel, I hope that I earned your subscription. So with that, I will see you guys hopefully next Wednesday, and you guys stay safe.